That guy in the suit just turned that other guy into a fucking kebab.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Journey into Comics, a podcast about comic books, video games, movies, television, and everything nerd, with your hosts, Nate Phillips, Brandon Stone, and Shuddy Boy.
Tell me, do you bleed? You will.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Journey into Comics. I'm Brando. What's going on? I'm your host, and of course, this is some sort of BrandoCast, solo cast thing. Nate came up with an idea to do like a solo cast for me, solo cast for him, and together it'd be kind of like two episodes or two halves of an episode, but they're both solo, so we could do them separately. I don't know if he's still doing that because we sort of talk sporadically and it hasn't come up. But anyways, welcome to Journey into Comics. And today, I think I'm going to be focusing more on gaming. The last episode, we did like our best of 15, and I'm just going to talk about some sort of gaming news, some of the games that I'm looking forward to coming out. Of course, there's comic book and movie news out right now. There's stuff that I just read on comicbook.com, like Kevin Smith directing an episode of The Flash. That's kind of neat. There's a lot of talk about the Marvel stuff with Civil War and how I think it was like the directors or writers or somebody talking about it. It's like, you're not going to be ready for what we're going to show you. That sort of hype train type thing. But as far as that goes, I kind of want to leave that to Nate. And typically when I do solo cast, it's more like random news, gaming news for me anyway, because that's really my specialty. I record from my game room. I'm surrounded by my entire collection of gaming stuff. When I first came on the show, it was about gaming. Yeah, I'm into the other stuff. I talk about that. I read it. I watch it. Sure, yeah. But gaming's my forte. So, hey, I'm your gaming guru here on Journey into Comics. This is your Game Hub episode. Maybe I'll start doing like once per quarter, I'll do one now. I'll do one like around E3. I'll do one like towards the fall or something like that. Some sort of episode entirely dedicated to sort of what's going on in gaming right now. And the biggest news for the past week really is that the Oculus Rift for PC is available for pre-order. And it's $600. Wow. I mean, the last time I spent $600 on gaming, that was for a PS3. And really, and I went halvesies with it. Me and Rob, Silent Rob, we went halvesies. And I paid half, he paid half. We had a PS3. We didn't even have an HD TV yet when we bought one. I think we bought it in like July of 2007. So there weren't really that many games out for it anyway. It was just the temptation. We wanted to see what the hubbub was about. And neither one of us were really big Xbox fans. So the 360 didn't really appeal to us. And we both ended up getting one. Yeah, sure. But we both went in on the PS3 and we got the $600 model for the backwards compatibility, and I think it was a 60 gig hard drive. That was the biggest they were offering at the time. And unfortunately, I don't have that PS3 anymore. I traded it to our good buddy Tony, one of my band members in Draxus, along with Nate. Traded it for a guitar, and it is unfortunate because I do miss that old, paperweight. That's kind of what I called it. That thing was so heavy, jeez. But $600 for the Oculus Rift. Now, originally they said it was going to be around $300, $400, some sort of that range, but this is like a couple $100 more, and you're going to get like a carrying case and an Xbox One controller. I really, this whole VR thing with Oculus, with PlayStation VR, there's a Samsung one, I think there's a few other one out there. I'm not sure if there's one for Microsoft. They had some sort of idea, but I never really elaborated on it. I don't really care that much. It's not really something that's going to come in and overtake, my primary gaming space. Is it something that I'll check out? Sure, but not for $600. I'm not driven to go buy it, and I wonder if there's really that many people who are. I assume there are. I assume that the pre-orders are at least going well for this Oculus Rift. But okay, this was a Kickstarter, right? The Oculus Rift was a Kickstarter, and Facebook ended up buying into it. They ended up, like, what was the term I'm looking for? Investing. And now they own Oculus Rift. And I want to say I have a news article pulled up. I did some, some preemptive planning for the show. I have a couple of things just to reference if I ever got lost. And so they've said that they're not making any money on Rift hardware, saying that it's obscenely cheap for this product. Basically, in the same way that a $500 or $600 120-inch 4K OLED TV would be obscenely cheap. Basically, they went up, and it kind of sounds like that they are giving you a much better screen inside the actual headset. Because I've heard that the original headsets for the Oculus, they were like 1080p, but sure they were good, but you could see like pixelation still with being up close to your eyes. But with the 4K, it's a lot more difficult to actually notice that. Hey, whoever is excited for this, I'm cool. Good for you. I'm anxious to see how it does. I know you need to have a pretty hefty PC rig to even use it. I think you need like 16 gigs of RAM, and then certain specs of like video cards and whatnot. But cool. I don't really have anything much else to say about it. I mean, I was never really that like into it. I do know that in order to really understand and get VR, you have to use it. You can't talk about it. You can't hear about it. You have to see it firsthand. And I really hope that the PS4 or the PlayStation VR, I hope that doesn't follow the trend and be that expensive. I don't think it would be. I know that the PlayStation VR actually, it hooks up to the PS4, but it also has its own primary like power box to sort of power the VR itself, so it's not borrowing that much power from the PS4. Or I'm not sure exactly how the techniques, the technology works with that. But hopefully, it's not going to be as expensive. That's going to be something that either someone else is going to get it and I'll try it, or it's going to have to flop terribly. And I'm talking about PS VR. It's going to have to flop terribly, go all the way down to like really cheap price, and then I'll pick it up just to say I tried it, just to add it to the collection. And I remember Rob ended up getting the PlayStation Move. He got the Move bundle with the PS3, and he didn't even use it. I don't even think he ever used it. And I ended up downloading a free game on PS Plus that was a Move game, and I asked him to borrow it, if I could borrow it, and I still have it. I've told him I have it. He goes, yeah, no, I don't care. So it's sitting over there in my controller bin in my like little side table. And honestly, I borrowed it from him, and I never even played that free game. So that's the thing, is that with the Move, I didn't even want to get in. I know VR is a bit different than the Move. The Move is sort of just like kind of like this cash grab. Everybody was doing the motion gaming. They were trying to copy Nintendo and try to capitalize on that market. And, of course, Microsoft had the Kinect, and the Kinect sold like crazy at first. It was like, oh, this is neat. And then people realized that it was going to cost too much effort. And then, of course, the second Kinect, even by the time the first Kinect was like out for a while, people stopped giving a crap. You couldn't give them away. I tried to sell mine and take it to like a used game store as like disc replay, and they wouldn't take it. They had too many. They said they can't even sell them. People won't even buy them. And so I ended up keeping it, and I don't know if we sold it to a family friend or somebody like that wanted it for her kids, but it was sort of like the same thing with the Kinect 2 that came with the Xbox One. Yeah, originally it was bundled in, no question. You couldn't, you had to get it, and I know some people just hooked it up once to try out the new enhanced like voice commands, and then okay, enough of this. It doesn't really add that much, so I'm hoping that the PSVR, I hope they're not putting all their eggs in that basket if it's going to fail. I really hope that on that end, they're going to be games that really use the VR, that are VR, I guess, exclusive or made for it. I really hope they can sort of find a way to make regular games more immersive with it, like basically where you just cut out everything, you have your screen, you have your headphones, and you're gone. It's like, I can get away from the wife, the kids, whatever, for like, an hour to a couple hours a night, and I'm just immersed. Maybe, hopefully that'll work, but we'll just have to see. And I think the PSVR is coming out sometime this year. I don't really know when that's coming out, but something else that could be coming out this year, the Nintendo NX. Now, this got announced last year. Nintendo themselves announced codename NX, their new something, their new console, whatever it was. And they said, we're working on something, and here's what it's called, and then we're not going to tell you anything more about it until next year. Pretty much what is being sort of tossed around right now, the word is that there's going to be revealed before E3, and then it could release in the fall. Now, I know some people are saying that, it's too soon. The Wii U hasn't even been out for 5 years. Yeah, but the Wii U's selling like crap. I like the Wii U. I really do. I think it's a decent console. It has a lot of really good games on it, and I think it gets a bad rap. I think it's a much better console than what it turned out to be. As far as like if this console would have been released in like 2009, 2010 and competed with the PS3, Xbox 360, I think it would have killed. I think it would have done great. But when it came out as late as it did, a year before the PS4, Xbox One, with lackluster like launch games, it had some third-party support at the beginning, and then it just totally fell apart by the end, just simply because their architecture is so different, and by that point is not as powerful. For that first year with the systems, it was still hanging in there because they were still putting out the lower quality games, or lower quality games, not really the word I'm looking for, but they were putting out lower versions of those for the PS3 360, and you could get those. Some of those would even go over to the Wii U. I know like a couple of the Call of Duties did. I know we got Black Ops 2. I know we got Ghosts, and I know Assassin's Creed 3 and 4. Which I think 4 is the only one of those that went onto the newer consoles. But, we got some, But then now that's starting to go away. And a lot of the other companies are like, it's not even viable because, like, the Wii U sold like 10 million systems. And it doesn't have enough of a fan base there, enough of an install base for them to, look at like, wow, we're going to go ahead, spend the money to encode this game to run on this console when we're not going to make that money back. We're not going to take that investment and gain something back. That's why right now for collecting purposes for the Wii U, I'm actually like looking for games that are coming out for the Wii U from third parties, indie stuff like Shovel Knight, like Bloodstain's coming out, like Mighty Number 9. I'll be getting those in the Wii U simply because I feel like those games could be collectible, or they're going to be more like, it's going to be more niche to have those on that system compared to like if I have a PS4 collection or an Xbox One collection where those games just fit in there. I think since those games really don't push the hardware any, to get those games on the Wii U is kind of cool. But to get back on point with the NX, to say that it's too soon, I think is wrong. I think it's time now to really double down, to push through with this new console. For them to say, it's not going to take away from the Wii U. Don't worry, guys. Still buy Zelda Wii U. It's coming out. Well, I personally think Zelda Wii U is going to be on NX. And I think it has to be. This console, it's really Nintendo's last chance, probably, to stay viable. And as much as they pretend like they're not in competition with the other two guys, they are. Because it's the same marketplace. Yeah, Nintendo stuff is a lot of more geared to younger audiences, especially their first party stuff, right? And that's fine because you need that for gaming. You need that sort of market, those titles for that younger audience. Unfortunately, there's no depth with the other titles. There's no third party. To have your one system where you can have your Marios, where you can have your Kirbys, or you can have your Metroids, your Zeldas. Like the Metroids and Zeldas, those appeal to like some older gamers as well. But for those upstart gamers, those kid gamers, to play like Yoshi's Woolly World, and then for the older brothers to play Zelda, Metroid, and then for the other for mom and dad to play like stuff that is more mature content. Yes, Nintendo has tried to do a good job of saying we've got all of that for you, exclusive to us. But really, they need to have a third party. They need to have all those other games that come out on the other systems. Why? Because it's all about value. It's about trying to sell your product to somebody. To say, like you could say, well, we don't have the same games as the PS4, so you should buy us. Well, really, you should say, well, hey, Madden, you can play that on Codename NX. We have the Maddens, we have your Call of Duties, we have your Grand Theft Auto, we have all this stuff, but we also have our in-house awesome first party, which Nintendo's awesome at their first party stuff. They've never let down with that. So we don't know too much about the NX. We have rumors that it could be a console handheld hybrid, which does worry some people, including me, about what that could be. But if they really put their all into it and try to make this something special, something really historic, to be able to have console quality gaming on the go, this console could effectively replace the Wii U and the 3DS on the market. Because obviously the mobile market is more volatile now. The 3DS was able to be successful, not as successful probably as the DS, but it was able to find an audience and stick to that. I don't know if they'll be able to do it again, especially since the time that the 3DS came out, the advances in mobile gaming with your tablets, with your smartphones, has gone through the roof. So to have Codename NX be console quality gaming on the go in your house, no matter where you are, you can. I hope it works. There's a lot of hope, but pretty much since the N64, they've really messed up. But the Wii was a really positive and successful mess up for them. But that still didn't help them in the long run. The N64, they stayed with cartridges when they should have went to CDs. The GameCube, they should have went to DVDs. They should have had the same. And even their controller, as good as their controller is, it should have had the same amount of buttons as the other two competitors. So at least if it had DVDs, if it had the same amount of buttons, there wouldn't have been as much work for the third party to bring their game over to that system. So you would have had a more equal playing field. Because the GameCube is more powerful than the PS2. At least the PS2 is going to overcome both the GameCube and the Xbox. Maybe the GameCube wouldn't have been as much of a third place holder with that, and maybe the numbers are different. Maybe it is in a third place, but from a gamer's perspective, from my perspective, it doesn't hold as much water as like the Xbox or the PS2 did. And then for the Wii, they went completely out of left field. They didn't release a console that was up to standards. They didn't release a console with regular controller support. They did release something for the Wiimote. It was all motion, and it was a gimmick that worked. It got everybody in the family playing the game for the first 2 years, and then nobody gave a crap. And then it faded away, and then they released the Wii U, which was supposed to be like the next iteration of that. They still had motion gaming, but now they were like, tablets are the new thing, so you have a gaming controller tablet thing. They didn't market it well. It's underpowered. This new Nintendo thing, it has to be viable. It has to succeed. If it doesn't, then we're going to see them go third party. You're going to see Nintendo start releasing games on other consoles, and maybe even mobile, which they're already doing. With mobile, they partnered up for that. So who knows? Who knows where it goes if it fails? I hope they don't. But continuing on with other stuff that's sort of newsworthy. I didn't know this until I was just doing research to get some articles, but the Shenmue 3 PayPal Slacker backer thing that they did after the Kickstarter closed down, they said you have until the end of the year to support Shenmue 3 through PayPal if you wanted to do so. apparently they won't receive, the Slacker backers will not receive Kickstarter exclusive rewards. Now, I was going to do that. I was going to do Slacker backer for Shenmue 3 because I want Shenmue to succeed, and I want my physical copy of Shenmue 3, which is only available through the Kickstarter, or at least that was the only way to guarantee you one. And while I did look at it, and that was an option to back that, I wonder if you're even going to get a physical copy if you selected that, or if you're just going to get a download code. Because I didn't back it. I ended up spending that money elsewhere on some, older games that I wanted to get. And I passed on it. And I'm taking the chance that, I'm going to be able to get a physical copy either on Amazon or somewhere, right? But now we don't even know if there's going to be a physical copy going to the Slacker backers. So I'm kind of glad that I didn't do it, because I don't know. There's that doubt. So, and speaking of Shenmue 3, there's concern that Shenmue 3 won't live up to hype. And that's probably true. I can see that. I'm a Shenmue fan. I have both games, and it's a series that unfortunately just kind of died early. There's always those series in games that, they just kind of don't find their footing and they die off early, and we don't ever get a conclusion to whatever story they were trying to tell. And that's my biggest hope, is that at least hopefully he'll be able to finish a story. And while this was a huge news maker for E3 last year, along with the Final Fantasy VII remake, there's a bit of worry on my part, whether or not they're going to be able to get enough money to create a game on that size and scope that's going to please the fans. So Shenmue 3, I again, along with the NX, I hope you succeed. I really hope you succeed, and I really hope that I can get a copy. I hope I can, and I hope the Slacker backers get their copy on physical, if they did it that way. Final Fantasy IX is coming to Steam and mobile. Now, why is this newsworthy? Because Final Fantasy IX is one of my favorite Final Fantasies. It's hard to place it, because there's so many Final Fantasies that I enjoy that are really good games to me. And of course, 7 was my first RPG I really got into. Then you have 4, and you have 6, then you have, 9, 10, even 8. I like 8. It's not my absolute favorite, but I like 8. But 9 is something special. 9 is something that I remember playing this the first time. And that's a cool story, because I rented it for like 2 weeks, and then my dad got tired of renting it for me. He goes, "Damn it, if you're just going to keep renting this game, I'm just going to buy it for you." So he bought it for me, and then the night that he bought it for me, he got home and gave it to me, and then I beat it that night because I was that far into it. So technically, I beat Final Fantasy IX the day I got it. Now, I can say that. There's a little caveat, but I can definitely say that. 9 is awesome, though. It's a really well translated. It has a really warming story. It has one of the best Final Fantasy characters ever in VV. It's so thought-provoking once you look at it through a certain scope, right? When you're younger, you may not catch it, but when you're older and you get the whole story, you get the whole set of events. It's a really in-depth game, very worth your time. And if I had to place it on my list, man, it's as I said, it's hard, but it's definitely probably, it's even in contention with FF7. With probably my favorite Final Fantasy 1 or Final Fantasy game on PlayStation, because I love FF7. It's almost kind of like your firstborn, right? But this one's right up there with it. It's terms of story, in terms of gameplay, even graphics. I played this game. I think I played it on the PSP or on my Vita or something. But even the graphics to this day, yes, they're PS1 graphics, but they still kind of hold up. Amazingly. Yes, when you're looking at it, it's old, but it's not like deformed old. You can still make out stuff. It's almost like an art style. It's neat, and I really, really am looking forward to a newer audience getting used and getting accustomed to FF9, and I hope it does well. On Steam, it's on mobile as well. I would have to recommend the Steam version, because at least you can sit there with a controller and play it. I don't really see myself buying this on mobile, on a phone or pad, but that's what a lot of people play games on. So if that's where where your heart is, more power to you. But the last bit of news here is something that struck me by surprise, honestly, and that is Rise of the Tomb Raider sells over 1 million. Apparently, they had a really big December, going into the holiday, and that game was exclusive to the Xbox One. I've mentioned it here on the podcast before about how it launched next to Fallout 4 and just got decimated in sales, and you didn't really hear much about it other than everybody who plays it says it's good. It's a damn good game, and it's a damn good successor to the first Tomb Raider for the reboot in this series, and that you should play it. And that is so unfortunate to me because it sucks that a good game like this just gets buried by being exclusive on a console that doesn't have the install base the PS4 has. I mean, I'm not trying to take a dig at Xbox One here, but yeah, I kind of am. It kind of sucks that more people can enjoy this until next year. And by that point, it's like, who cares? That game has been out for a while. I don't think it's going to see a big jump in sales when it comes to PS4, but man, I'm surprised. I'm surprised it did over 1 million. I really am. I'm happy because at least based on that, the last number for the Xbox One that we got was a while ago, and that was 10 million, and that's probably closer to 20 million by now. But I hope that's enough for Square to say we want to continue this series. Because, I mean, when Tomb Raider came out on PS3, Xbox 360, it only sold like 4 or 5 million, 6 million, and that was actually, it underperformed for them on that. And I'm really hoping that this does well for what they wanted, for them to be able to say, let's give it another entry, because I would like this to be a trilogy. I would like it to at least see one more entry before it dies, because I don't want it to see it go out like this. That's what I'm saying. But I can't wait to play it. I can't wait to get it and play it, which that brings the question, what am I going to buy it for? Am I going to support the exclusive, game onto the Xbox, or do I get it on the PS4? I have the other one, the reboot, the definitive edition on the PS4. I bought it there because I'm like, this is where I'm playing my games. I didn't have an Xbox One at the time. And then, one of the main things that I'm doing for collecting purposes is that, yes, I'm sort of splitting games up between PS4 Xbox, just depending on where I want to buy them, yeah. But, I'm kind of doing exclusives too. So it's like, this game is exclusive to Xbox. That's coming to PS4. Should I sell my PS4 copy of Tomb Raider? I don't know. It's whatever. I know Rob said he would let me borrow it, and I might just do that and play it, and then I'll buy it when it goes cheap. I mean, I hate to say that because, as I said, I want to support this game, but at the same time, I've waited this long already to even play it. I didn't even buy it. It was on my list to get, and then I got a bunch of more older stuff, and I started weighing my options. I'm like, I can pick up Tomb Raider, or I can go buy these 3 games. I'm like, well, let's buy the 3 games. I didn't really contemplate it that much, but for the rest of the year, though, what am I going to play? Right now, I'm still playing Fallout 4. I'm trying to get that done. Fallout 4 is so awesomely frustrating because I love the game. I'm having so much fun with it. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. But I started playing the storyline so much that I got close to the end, and then I'm like, wait, no, I still got this stuff to do. So now I'm like going over here doing this stuff, and then I just happened to discover a whole new part of the game. So it's like, damn it, I'm like 80-something hours in, and I got to try and delay it. And it sucks because I don't have a whole lot of time to dedicate to gaming all the time, It's like I got, my weekends and sometimes weeknights, I guess weeks, like maybe 2 hours in, but yeah, man. I do want to play Xenoblade. I need to catch up on that. I want to play through Shovel Knight on the Wii U. I want to play that because I bought it and I want to show that some love. I'm still playing Super Mario Maker, playing some levels on that. That's a cool game too. So where if I don't have a lot of time to game, I can just pick up the gamepad and turn it on and go check out and see what levels are going on right now and just download some levels and play those. And it's a great way to kill some time and still play some games. But games that are like coming out this year, my most anticipated games. I went through and I looked at the games that have guaranteed release dates, and then I, of course, like most of these games don't even have a hardline date yet. But the first one is not until February 12th, and that is The Mighty Number 9 on the Wii U. I'll be picking that up. That's also coming to the 3DS. I think it's coming to PS4 or Xbox One. It's going to everything. Steam. Mighty Number 9 is the spiritual successor to Mega Man. I'm a huge Mega Man fan. I love the games. They're really fun, awesome platformers. But Mighty Number 9 has been so long. From the Kickstarter to the delay, it's like this game is supposed to be out in like August, I think, or September, and then it hit a snag. And the snag is that they're releasing the title on so many different platforms, that they pretty much were having small bugs, but they didn't want to release the game with on some consoles that were good to go and other ones that were buggy, and so they wanted to make sure it was good to go before they put it out. And so, okay, that's cool. That old saying, a delayed game can be good, bad game's bad forever, right? So I think Miyamoto said that. But Mighty Number 9, Wii U, February 12th. March 4th, Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD for Wii U. This game sort of came out of left field back in November. I think it was. It was the first Nintendo Direct since Iwata passed. And this game came out, and I love Twilight Princess. Great game. Honestly, I kind of wanted to see how cool it looks and how good it looks. I already have it. And I originally played it on the Wii. And then last year, I was able to track down the GameCube version. That's the one I really wanted. So, yeah. I mean, I want to play it. I might not get it at launch. I might wait a while. It might be, and hell, I might not even get it next year, Of course, they do have that one amiibo bundle with Wolf Link or whatever, and so that looks cool. But if I can get that, if I go to the store and I see that, I'll probably buy it. But there's another game coming out a month later that I'm definitely buying. This one probably will not be it. No, the next one is Quantum Break. It comes out April 5th for Xbox One. It's like their next big exclusive. I'm interested, totally interested. I want to know more about this game. Apparently there's a TV show that's going to launch with it on the Xbox, and it's going to tie in whatever. That game looks cool, and I hope it does well, and I hope it's a new good IP for them, and I want them to do well. That should be the mantra for this episode. I want them to succeed. I want them to do well. But obviously what I'm saying is that I still have doubts. And while I don't have a lot of doubts about Quantum Break, I just don't know enough about it, is really what it is. But it comes out on the same month as Uncharted, because Uncharted got pushed back to April 29th. And if I have to put my $60 down on one of those games, it's Uncharted 4, because it's already established. I'm hyped as hell to play Uncharted 4. I mean, there's nothing else that I can say. I'm hyped. The last one that I have a date for is just not. It's not even a hard date. It's a light date. June. No Man's Sky for PS4. I want to know more about this one as well. It looks neat. It doesn't look like it's going to be one of those games that has a big storyline to it. But that's okay. You don't always have to have a big storyline, You can sort of in this game, wander the galaxy and kind of make up your own story, That's kind of cool, too, for people who have the imagination to do so. But definitely looking forward to seeing what that game holds as well. Now, the rest of these games are games that I've written down, that basically don't have a hardline date. They don't have any date. They don't even have a timeline. Some of these I've heard rough timelines, but I don't think it's been confirmed. But Dragon Quest 7 and 8 for the 3DS. Oh boy. I've been collecting RPGs pretty hardcore going into this, and I've been tracking down the Dragon Quests. Of course, I have Dragon Quest 8 already on the PS2. But Dragon Quest 7, Dragon Warrior is what it was called over here until Dragon Quest 8 came out. Dragon Warrior 7 is on the PS1, and it's kind of expensive. I saw it once, and I about flipped out. I'm like, all right, I can buy it. No, I can't. It's Japanese version. Of course it would be. But Dragon Quest 7 will allow me to be able to get a copy of that for the 3DS, and then it's mobile too. I love having my RPGs mobile because it's so cool to be able to just play it in the car, to be able to grind some stuff out, Whenever I can now, I've been looking to get those mobile, and it's funny because some other people are going the other way. They're like, I want my RPGs on my console. I want that big console experience, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. Yes, but in my perfect world, I want both. So I will be getting Dragon Quest VII for my PS1 collection. I already know that, but since this is coming out, it's going to be readily available. I'm definitely picking it up. And with 8, again, having it portable, and then they're adding some more stuff to it. So sure, I'll pick that up. Where was I at here? Oh, okay. Final Fantasy 15. It's coming out for PS4 and Xbox One and Steam, I assume. But I'll be getting it on PS4. So yeah, that's definitely coming out next year. Finally, after, 15 years of development. It was first as 13, and then they changed it over to 15, and it's been in development hell, along with The Last Guardian. Both those games coming out next year. Last Guardian, it'd be something I'd probably pick up down the line, but it's not something that I'm like, I'm not gonna be in line for it. So, but 15, I want to know more about 15, because I got 13. And then it looked cool. It looks like it has a neat story, but I just can't get into it. Hopefully, maybe, I will be able to, and I'll be able to complete that trilogy and play it and say I have, and have more of a, a thought process on it, because it was the same thing with 12. Ever since 10. 10 was the last Final Fantasy of the numbered series that I played and went, holy crap, this was an awesome game. I couldn't get into 12. I couldn't get into 13. 11 and 14 are MMOs, and I'm not into those. So it's been since 10 came out that I was like, I played a Final Fantasy that it just instantly grabbed me and said, this game is cool. This game is awesome. It has great gameplay. And I did play the demo for 15. It seems interesting. It's a different kind of game, which is fine. I'm more accepting to that nowadays, but we'll see how that goes. But also coming out sometime this year is Persona 5. And that's honestly appeals to me more than Final Fantasy 15 does. It has that old school turn-based style of combat. So that's where my heart is at. I still love the turn-based combat. I know a lot of people don't, and that's why Final Fantasy has gone to more of an action-based, because a lot of people in the Western hemisphere have turned to action-based RPGs, Western style. Your Dragon Age, your Elder Scrolls, your Fallout, the RPGs that you don't have to stand there and wait your turn. But I like strategizing. I like playing the games with turn-based. It's really cool. It just, you can actually pause the game and don't have to worry about anything, right? I mean, granted, you can pause it on action style too, but then you got to be like on your toes right when you come back in. But out of those two, if those two come out on the same day, I'd probably buy Persona 5. But of course, my goal is to buy both. Also on the PS4 is Persona 5. Yeah, that's exclusive to PS4 as far as I know. I think in Japan it's coming out on PS3, but that's because there's a more install base for PS3 in Japan. Horizon Zero Dawn coming out for the PS4. That is that's a big exclusive. After Uncharted, it's Horizon. There might be a few others in there, but that's coming out by the guys that made Killzone. Completely different style. That was a game that really surprised me from E3. Didn't even know anything about it until then. And then, so be looking forward to it. That might not be a day one, just depending on where it falls. If it's coming out in November, it won't be a day one because I got other games. But I definitely will want to look into it and pick it up. Gears 4 for the Xbox One. I like the Gears of War series. When I first played Gears of War 1, it blew me away with the cool stuff you can do with co-op. 2 didn't really do much for me with that. It was fun, but short, and it didn't really advance the co-op kind of thing. And then Gears 3 I played by myself, and it was okay. I'm looking forward to it. The little teaser trailer gameplay thing they did for E3 made it look great. So I'm hoping, here's to you, Gears 4. I hope you can do well, and I hope you can establish yourself again as a new series, as a new IP here. And that's not a new IP, but as a IP that can still carry itself going forward. Fire Emblem Fates for the 3DS. Now this is like 3 games. There's like, I read how it works. There's one game, and then there's another game. And it's like 2 warring factions, and one game follows one, and the other game follows another one, and then the third game follows like the aftermath. So there that is. The reason why it's on my list is because I've always wanted to get into Fire Emblem. It's kind of like that tactical RPG, and this seems like a good a time as any. I don't know if I will get it right away, but there's 3 games. I don't know if I'll be able to get all 3 of them. It's kind of crazy, but it's a unique idea, and like at the same time. So moving on from there, the Kingdom Hearts 3. I doubt that it comes out this year. It has like a rough date for 16. I didn't know. No way. If Final Fantasy 15 comes out this year, Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming out next year. And that's pretty much all I got to say on that. I will be getting that for PS4 though. ReCore on the Xbox One. This game is being developed by the developers that made Metroid Prime and then the Mega Man creator, Inafune. We'll see. It got delayed. Of course, there's obviously with, I think the Metroid Prime guys, those guys were in England, and then Inafune's Japanese. There's probably some sort of translation thing going on, but they debuted it at E3. It looked interesting. I don't know much about it, but I'm intrigued simply by who's making it and then what little I've seen. I'm like, I want to know more about this. I think this is going to be a really neat exclusive to the Xbox, to get. It's going to be one of those things that honestly, probably in like 5 to 10 years, you're going to be like, hey man, you remember that ReCore game? That was really neat. I don't think it's going to be like one that's going to blow you away. It's not going to be the next Halo, but I think it's going to be one to look back upon and go, you know what? That's a very underrated game. But speaking of underrated, this next game is a sequel to a game that I think is underrated. And that is South Park: The Fractured But Whole. Is apparently coming out this year. I don't know when, but I played the Stick of Truth, and holy crap, did that game blow me away. That game brought back so many memories. It feels like Super Mario RPG in the South Park world with them playing Fantasy World. And then this one is like the sequel, but they're superheroes, and I can't wait. I just can't wait. I've heard it's going to play very similar in style, so I'm all for it. Count me on board. And I'll be buying that on the Xbox One simply because I had the Stick of Truth on Xbox One. And that's not going to be a game that like pushes the power of anything. It's not like a big exclusive. It's not like a big multiplayer game either, which I'll be playing all my multiplayer on PlayStation. But so I'll just get it on the Xbox One. Star Ocean 5 is supposed to be coming out this year. Of course, we saw that at E3. Cool. I have all the other Star Oceans, so I'll be looking forward to that. It may not be a day one, but again, with all these games, it's all going to depend. In fact, out of all these games, I'm probably going to end up like maybe 5 or 6 of them, around launch. The rest of them, I may have to wait like a year or 2 before I can actually pick them up, especially with something like Fire Emblem, which has like 3 games. But at the same time, with how weird and volatile Nintendo games get, Fire Emblem Fates, all 3 games may get hard to find. So I may have to judge upon that. When they start getting harder to find, I may have to try and go pick them up. Zelda Wii U is coming out this year. And as I said earlier, I think this is also going to be a launch title for the next Nintendo console. But I'm still getting it on the Wii U because it's been in development for the Wii U. I honestly, personally believe this game was developed or it was delayed to put it onto the next Nintendo console. I think because it was supposed to come out like last year or like around like the fall. And I think it was done to do that. It looks great. It looks fantastic. It has a really cool art style to it. So I'm looking forward to that. Mass Effect Andromeda is the last one. And anybody that knows me personally knows that I'm a diehard Mass Effect fan, to a fault even. I know it's not the most perfect, game series ever, but I love it. I absolutely love the sci-fi. I love everything that they did, honestly. And for this, it's coming out in November. I wouldn't be surprised if it got delayed. There's been no hint of that, but we also haven't heard much about it. There's just been a little bit like teasers. So, we'll getting closer to E3, we'll see. If maybe they'll pull like the Fallout thing, and we know just a few tidbits here. And with Fallout, did I say Fallout 3? I meant Fallout 4. But with Fallout, it's like they only announced it like the week or 2 before, and then they said, all right, here's all the stuff you want to know. With Mass Effect, maybe they'll do that. Maybe they're trying to keep, a lot of stuff hidden. So that way it's more of a surprise. There's less of a chance to criticize it, So that's where I'm at with my anticipated games. As I said, out of these, I'll probably end up with 5 or 6 around launch time. I'm also trying to cut back on my, on my retro spending as well. I'm trying to be an adult and take care of some of the debt that I have. So there's always that. But, with any sort of collector, it's challenging for when new stuff comes out, new stuff gets announced. You get excited, and then you go, oh wait, I have to go do like responsible stuff. Damn it. Is there a way that I can do both? There's always that sort of thought process. But guys, that's kind of all I have on my list with my news. There wasn't a whole lot of news. It's kind of a dead time around this time of year anyway. But I definitely will be doing this more. I do plan on doing another E3 show this year. Maybe I'll ask Wes to come back like I did last year. But this time I'm thinking about doing it maybe not as much of a play-by-play, where it's not like the longest podcast that we've ever done on this show again. Maybe I'll just try and like pick like the biggest stuff to talk about. We're probably going to be talking a lot about Nintendo, whether it's good or bad. So there's that. And then with that, I hope Nate does a show this week. I want to hear what he has to say about stuff that's going on in other parts of the realm of nerdisms, whether or not you either comic books, movies, television, all that stuff. So until then, I guess I'll just see you guys later. Remember to check us out on all our stuff, our Facebooks. Check us out on Podbean. You can download us on the Podbean app, iTunes, on the website. We do Twitter, not really sometimes. I released a new pickups video to our YouTube channel, Journey into Comics. There's stuff going on that I have plans for that I'm not sure about with YouTube. I'm thinking about launching my own separate YouTube channel for gaming stuff, because the more that I realize it, the more that like most of the videos on the Journey into Comics YouTube stuff is just my stuff and it's gaming oriented. So I'm thinking about maybe having a gaming oriented channel that's like, it's like, hey, I'll help promote Journey into Comics stuff, but maybe I can get Nate to do more pop stuff, and that way the Journey into Comics YouTube channel is more comic oriented, and then I have a gaming thing. I don't know. It's just a thought process I had in my head the other day. So I'll go ahead and just cut this off and say thank you guys for listening, and I will see you later.